Hey, everybody, and welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm your host, Sean Tomlin, and this is Upon Further Review, the podcast. This show is going to be basically about talking about fantasy football, football in general. Um, First half of the episodes will be about football in general, top fantasy performers, all this and that. The second half of the episodes are going to be about my league that I'm in, our league. I'm the commissioner of that league, so I'll be going over all the matchups that happened last week, the matchups that are going to be happening the week on, and then just random little notes, good waiver wire pickups, and then I'll be going over my final thoughts in that segment and going over about injuries and other little things like that. So let's get everything started here. Week 2 of the NFL started off on Thursday with the Bills beating the Miami Dolphins 31-19. But that wasn't the only story about that game. We had Tua Tagovailoa go down with another concussion. Great. And that might have played a little bit of a factor into the Bills beating them. But Miami was looking pretty bad at the beginning of the game anyways. Next, we're going to move on after that is Sunday, all the action that happened on Sunday. So it started off with the Saints beating the Dallas Cowboys 44-19. The Saints have been unbelievable this year, and they really just beat up on the Cowboys this weekend. I did not see that one coming. The Colts lost to Green Bay. Damn it. If you couldn't tell already, I have kind of obsession with the Colts, so anytime seeing them lose really makes me mad. They lost 16-10. I really thought that their defense played just absolutely horrible. Hopefully next week they can pick it up. Our next matchup was the Raiders versus the Raiders beating the Ravens, actually 26-23. That was a field goal at the very end of the game. Really didn't see the Raiders pulling that one out and beating the Ravens. They've got a pretty good team this year, and somehow the Raiders beat them. So go Raiders! Yay! Next we had the Chargers beat the Panthers 26-3. Well, that's kind of a given. Anybody going up against the Panthers this year is pretty much going to win. That's a guaranteed win. You get a fucking W on there. Next we had the Bucks taking on the Lions. They took them down 20-16. Bucks are looking like not a bad option. They're kind of a middle tier team right now, but Baker Mayfield is definitely showing the Cleveland Browns that they should not have gotten rid of him and kept and gotten Deshaun Watson, Mr. Massage there. The Browns beat the Jags 18-13. That wasn't that great of a game. It was the Browns, and really, I don't think they really should have won that game. The Vikings upset the 49ers 23-17. That was actually a really good game to watch. Unfortunately, Justin Jefferson had a little bit of an injury, but I think he'll be okay. He's JJ, and JJ does JJ things. Let's see. The Seahawks beat the Pats 23-20 in overtime. Again, Geno Smith had a great game, but wasn't the most exciting game, and maybe I'm a little bit impartial because I really just hate the Patriots. Then we had the Jets beating the Titans 24-17. Aaron Rodgers was looking like Aaron Rodgers. Still some kinks to work out, obviously, in that offense, but defense was looking pretty good. You never know. Maybe the Jets are going to be a team at the end of the year that we see going into a championship. The Giants beat the Commanders 21-18. Again, it was Daniel Jones versus Washington, and that's just never exciting. The Rams lost to the Cardinals 41-10 because the Cardinals just went off. They just beat up on the Rams. The Chiefs barely beat the Bengals 26-25. And the Steelers beat the Broncos, which it's the Steelers. They're not great. They're not bad, but they're the Steelers. So, and then it's just the Broncos, and they are just a complete mess. So we'll move on to Sunday night. Sunday night had the Texans beat the Bears 19-13. Um, that wasn't really that exciting of a matchup. I thought Caleb Williams was going to have a better, performance this week than he did the week before, but he really just isn't looking the part. And like, who would have guessed an awesome rookie quarterback going to a crap team and he's not leading them to success right away, because that always happens. We'll flip over to Monday night. We had the Falcons shock the Eagles 22-21 with this awesome touchdown by Drake London. Kirk Cousins just led a drive right at the end of the game. It was a very exciting end of the match. Good for Kirk Cousins. This Falcons team actually might be a little bit of a surprise going through, but, then again, it still is Kirk Cousins, and it still is the Atlanta Falcons. All right, so that's all the matchups that happened this week. So we're going to go over to the top three players at each position this week. Top three QBs were Kyler Murray with 37.2 points. He's just blowing up. If you have him on your roster, that is definitely a guy you want to be starting. Derek Carr, he's been showing in the last 2 weeks that, okay, he beat the Panthers, but the way he beat up on the Cowboys this past weekend, that was making me think, Derek Carr probably has something here that we're not seeing. He had 29.25 points. Jalen Hurts rounds off my top three for quarterbacks at 26.65 points. He had an all-right matchup, a little tush-push, and getting those little TDs is nice for him. But overall, he did lose to the Falcons, so it is what it is. Top three running backs, we had Alvin Kamara with 46 points. Alvin Kamara went off, just like I was saying before with Derek Carr. That offense is just ticking right now. So the way that they beat up on the Cowboys, that was pretty impressive that I definitely did not see coming out of the Saints this year. Devontae Etienne had 29.5 points in a bad game for the Miami Dolphins, so that was good to see. Jared Cook, 28.5 points. He had an amazing game in that game against the Dolphins. I was pretty impressed. The span of the 3 TDs in the first half, that was great. Our top 3 wide receivers of the week were Marvin Harrison Jr. with 31 points. Obviously, he had Kyler Murray throwing to him, and they just blew out the Rams, so that was an awesome matchup. DK Metcalf had 30.9 points. He is kind of dealing with a little bit of an injury, which I'll go into later, so that one is kind of one to monitor. Neighbors had 29.7 points this week, so if you had Neighbors on your roster, you were probably pretty happy. Although the only downside is Daniel Jones is thrown to him, so it's kind of hard to say how reliable that's going to be. Top 3 tight ends were Kittle at 20.6 points. He had a great game, then he went out with some cramping injuries, but he was able to come back and still put up a great day. That's something to look at in the future, but I don't think it's going to be an issue. Hunter Henry had 19.9 points. Another good matchup for him. And Bowers at 18.8 points. Another good matchup for him with those Raiders beating the Ravens that day. Our top 3 defenses of the week were the Texans with 43.9 points. Didn't see the Texans putting up that good of a performance, but, it was something good to see. The Detroit Lions with 33.3 points. They had an all-right match. It wasn't bad, it wasn't great. And the Jets defense was number 3 with 29.7 points. They had actually a really good matchup. I think that's one team really to watch. So next, we're going to go into our top waiver wire pickups. For this upcoming week, for quarterback, I'm thinking Sam Darnold is a really good pickup off the waiver wire. He's consistently put up either just under 20 points or 20 points a game, 2 touchdowns a game. The interceptions are not the greatest, but it is still Sam Darnold, but he's got Justin Jefferson, and as long as Justin Jefferson's healthy, I think Sam Darnold is somebody you want to be picking up. At least stashing him for a little bit, seeing what you have if you have somebody better. Skylar Thompson, he's replacing Tua Tagovailoa, so, you know, if Tua can get Hill that wide open all the time, I think Thompson might be able to do it. So, he might. It's more of a wait and see on this one. You know, I would stash him onto your bench if you have the place. See how he does this week because that could be a huge one down the line. Also with Waddle and Achan, he's going to have the running game figured out, so that's going to make it a little bit easier on him. The only one I have for running back for the top waiver wire pickups for this week would be P. Ryan. Pacheco went out, yes, and you know, he has seen some work. I think he might be a little bit of a dark horse. He might end up being the running back you want to go with for running backs in Kansas City. But also, that was kind of a question mark because Kareem Hunt was just signed on the practice squad by the Chiefs, so that's something to look out for there. He did have 9 TDs last year, so if he's able to put up that performance again, I think he could be a really good goal line option. Wide receivers, if Josh Downs is able to get into the lineup this week with the way Anthony Richardson's been playing, I definitely think you should be putting Josh Downs in your lineup, getting him on your team as fast as you can. Because if he's able to blow up, and even though the Colts haven't been able to put a win up, Alec Pierce has been getting great points all year. So I know it's been only 2 weeks, but if Josh Downs is out there, I think you want to at least stash him on your bench this week, see what happens, because I think he could do something really special. And then Alan Lazard for the Jets. He's got that connection with Rodgers. He put up a really good performance in week 1. He had a really bad performance in week 2, so there's a possibility if somebody had him, he could have been dropped. I think that's somebody you got to get into your, at least onto your bench, maybe not into your lineup, but I think the Jets are going to be really blowing up. So if you can get a Jet, I think a Jet is a good option for you. All right. We'll finish off the first half of the episode today with the top 5 games for watching for this weekend, which I think will be awesome. We'll start off with the first one. I think Texans versus Vikings is going to be an awesome matchup to watch. It really depends on if Joe Mixon is playing or not. If he isn't, I still think it's going to be a good match. The Texans defense has been really good for the last 2 weeks, and CJ Stroud is CJ Stroud. So, but then on the other side, you got Sam Darnold thrown to Justin Jefferson. So, you know, that's one to look out for. I think that's going to be a good matchup to watch. Next, we got the Cards versus the Lions. I think that's going to be a pretty even, competitive match. The Cards have been did good. They didn't do very good in the first week, but they did pretty good last week. So I think that's going to be a good matchup to watch. Next one I would say would be the Chiefs versus the Falcons, because I think there's something special about these Falcons. I really do. Next we got the Ravens versus the Cowboys. It just sounds like a slugfest. I know the Cowboys got beat up a little bit last week by the Saints, but I think that's going to be a really good matchup. The next one I've got is probably going to be Eagles versus Saints. Saints have had a great last 2 weeks. They put up big numbers last week. And the Falcons are going to be hungry coming off that end of the game loss to the Falcons. So I think that's going to be a pretty competitive matchup. And I'll give a special mention here to it's going to be the Bears versus the Colts, Super Bowl 41 rematch. I think that's going to be an awesome game to watch. I know I'm going to be watching it. Alrighty. Well, that's the end of the first half of the episode. So, like I said before, we're going to move on over to more of the second half of being about our league. The league is Clusterfuck 2. So these next portions are pretty much going to be all about that. So to start that off, here's the Week 2 league matchup results. We had Lawson's team, Andy Reid Anal Bead, beat Ty's team, Protect Your Holes. 210.95 to 157.50. Lawson's team had a great outing. Scored the most points in the fantasy league this week. He was led by Kareem Hunt with 46 points, not Kareem Hunt, Alvin Kamara. I got Kareem Hunt on the mind with 46 points, and Neighbors with 29.2. Ty's team was led by DK Metcalf with 30.9 points, and Amon St. Brown with 23.9 points. Tough loss for Ty. Ty was our champion last year. So it's not good to get a second loss in a row on week 2, but after winning the championship last year, but there's not much you can do about that. It's a long season. We're only at the beginning. Our next matchup was G-Spot. He beat the Mark Davis Bull Cut 156.43 to 138.25. That was an awesome one. HN had 29.5 points, and Devontae Smith had 20.6 points for G-Spot, which is Graham, by the way. The Mark Davis Bull Cut, that's Simon. Simon's team was led by James Cook with 28.5 points and Drake London with 17.4. So hopefully Simon can come back next week. That'll be fun for him. Our next matchup was Shane's team, G-Bay Packers, beating Dan's team, Past the Dutch, 128.15 to 115.45. Shane's team was led by the Ravens defense, 25.6 points. They lost the game, but they did have a good game. And Justin Jefferson with 25.3 points. Dan's team, Past the Dutch, was led by the Bills defense, 29.5 points. And Bijan Robinson, 16.3 points. So, some promise there. It was a pretty close matchup, so anything can happen next week. Like I said, early, beginning to the season. Our next matchup was Caden's team, Golf is Better. He beat Nathan's team, Billy Bob Jr., 123.45 to 100.25. Another little bit of a tight matchup there. Caden was led by Brees Hall with 24.4 points, and the 49ers defense with 19.1. Nathan's team was led by Devontae Adams, 27 points, and Nico Collins, 28.5 points, the third wide receiver on the Texans, and he's still getting points. And then next we've got the Monty Lake Colts, my team, beating Les's team, Tropic Thunder. This one's hard to say because I've been in fantasy football for a long time, and I have never seen anyone score this low of points. Sorry, I'm not bragging on you, Les, but man, that was bad. That was a bad one, man. Ended up beating you 90-55 to 59.8. I should have lost, considering I lost Tua and Hill had a bad game. But somehow, the grace of God, I was able to win. My team was led by J.K. Dobbins with 21 and Kittle with 20.6. Les, your team was led by C.J. Stroud with 15.5 and Jahmyr Gibbs with 17.6. So hopefully a better showing next week, Les. Because 59 points is not going to get you a win in this league. So we're going to move on here. We're going to check out our week 3 matchups for the league. We're going to have the Monty Lake Colts, my team, versus Nathan's team, Billy Bob Jr. I'm at 1-1. He's at 1-1. Somebody's going to be at 1-2 by the end of this one. Now, next matchup next week is Andy Reid, Anal Bead. Lawson's team versus Pass the Dutch, Dan's team. Dan's at 1-1, and Lawson, you're at 2-0. You're doing something good. Next matchup is going to be Simon's team, the Mark Davis Bull Cut, versus Caden's team, Golf is Better. Simon, you're 0-2. Caden, you're 2-0. Are you going to keep your winning streak going, be 3-0? Or is Simon going to get his first W of the year? Next, we've got G-Spot, Graham's team, versus Shane's team, the G-Bay Packers. G-Bay Packers are 2-0, and G-Spot's 1-1. So same thing is Shane going to keep the winning streak going, get it 3-0, or is Graham going to be the spoiler? Then we got Les's team, Tropic Thunder, 0-2 versus Protect Your Holes. Ty's team, both at 0-2. Being 0-2 to start the season after winning the championship's got to be hard, but it'll feel a lot better if you end up beating Les this week. All right, guys. It's been an awesome episode. Obviously, I'm not the best host. I'm doing this for the first time, but at least I'm trying. So let's go to the end of our final thoughts here with our goal to go segment. So, Pacheco injured his leg. He broke his fibula, so he's going to be out for a while. That makes the backfield for the Chiefs looking very interesting. Is it going to be Hunt? Is it going to be P. Ryan? Honestly, I can't remember the other guy's name, but is it going to be him? We'll see. Tua had his 4th concussion this week, so I think this guy's just got to, put the helmet down and, I wouldn't say move into broadcasting because that might not be very good for him. He might not be able to read the teleprompter. But, Tua, I honestly do hope you are feeling better and you're going to be back in the field soon enough, and that'll be wonderful. Josh Jacobs still dealing with a back injury, up and down there. I don't think it's really going to stop him, though. Mixon, same thing. He's got an ankle. I don't think that's going to stop him, though. I think he'll be back. CMC was put on IR this week, which was just wonderful, considering I'm an owner. Marquise Hollywood Brown, he was also put on IR this week, so I'm not an owner of him, but that's kind of a big blow to the Cardinals, I think. I think they'll be fine, though, but that's kind of a little bit of a blow to them, I think. Puka Nacua is going to be out for several weeks with a PCL injury, so hard to say what's going to happen with that. It's not like he was their top wide receiver, but with Cooper Kupp also dealing with injuries, it's kind of hard to say what's going to happen with those guys, so you might want to stay away from the Rams for a little bit. Unless you have the running back, of course, because it's the only person they have. A.J. Brown's doubtful this weekend with a hamstring. Jalen Reed, he's got a calf injury, but it's not considered to be super serious. He is kind of practicing on a limited basis. Same thing, Lamb with his ankle injury. He didn't practice today, but it's something to monitor. I don't think it's going to be a big issue, though. Like I said, Cooper Kupp injured his ankle. He's probably going to be going on to IR, so with him and Nacua out, it might be a good idea to look into some wide receivers for the Rams, although it is the Rams right now and they're not playing so great, so you might want to stay away from those. And Kenneth Walker is dealing with an oblique injury, and he is trending towards not playing this weekend, so going to be a lot of passes in that game. Well, it was awesome doing this first episode with you guys. Can't wait to be doing more. Hopefully it'll get a little bit smoother, a little bit better as time goes on. But I cannot wait for next week to bring it all down to you guys and tell you what you need to know. All right, see you next week, guys.